I know that when we have the opportunities to visit with Senator Harkin and his staff, whether it's at the Washington State dinner or otherwise, he's always very open-minded and always very willing to listen to our issues and address our concerns, not the least of which is the Perry Creek Channel. Help me in welcoming Senator Harkin.
Thank you, Craig. Craig, thank you very much, and thank you all for being out here this morning. I sure am glad the weather did cooperate. Yesterday morning I was in Jefferson, Iowa. It was already like 97 degrees, so kind of nicer this morning. Let me first recognize the City Council people here, Jim Rixner, of course, Jason Geary, our manager Paul Eckler, people who have been recognized before, but again our former mayors Bob and Dave Ferris, and Jim Wharton, Marty Doherty, Tom Padgett. Also I want to recognize Wes Whitehead, who is here, Representative Whitehead, and also Roger Wendt, who are also here this morning with us, and thank them for their help down through the years. Thanks to all of you who have worked on this project at the city and the Corps of Engineers, and of course a big congratulations to all the people in Sioux City who have whose patience and commitment is rewarded today. I want to thank Bob Scott for mentioning Connie Bodine and Lauren Callender. I can remember well back in the 80s when they were talking about this project, and of course Skip Meisner, mentioned also by Craig, working through all these years. I didn't first become aware of this in 1939. But I always used to say I was born with Perry Creek. That was the year I was born. But I can remember when Berkeley and I first came to the Congress together, and I was reminded of again this morning that Berkeley had put through a resolution sometime in the 70s. Skip was reminding me of this morning in the House. Of course, I represented a different district, so it wasn't much to do with me. But he put through a resolution to get this thing going again after all these years in the 70s. Well, I didn't pay much attention to it then. I was in the House, and then when I became, when you elected me your senator in 84, then in 85, we moved our office up to Sioux City. And we met with some of the city leaders here at that time to ask about, what things were of importance to Sioux City that we could start working on. And Perry Creek came up. And Berkeley was still in the House at the time. And Bert came to see me and said, we really got to keep this Perry Creek thing going. And I said, okay, fine. And again, really, it kind of just, we got it then. Richard Bender was on my staff. And then Richard got this in the 1986 bill, the Water Resource Development Act bill, the reauthorization bill. This is the Corps of Engineers bill and all that kind of stuff. So Richard Bender got it in there in that 86 bill. We got it passed as an authorization. Well, you can authorize things, but then you still got to get the money for it. And so, again, a couple of years passed, and it was really that flood of 1990 that Bob Scott spoke about that really got everything going, and Bob Scott really got behind this and really put his foot in the middle of my back, and he's got a pretty big foot. And I came up here. Actually, I remember it well. We were having a staff retreat in Washington. I shouldn't go into all these stories, but we were having a staff meeting in Washington with our Washington staff that weekend. The flood hit on Friday night and Saturday morning, and we were having a meeting on Saturday. I got a call from Dan Smith, who was my office manager at the time, and Dan Smith called and said we just had a terrible flood in Sioux City. A lot of homes gone. People home out of their homes and stuff, and I said, well, okay, so I better get out there. So I remember I caught a flight out Saturday night. Actually, I got here Sunday morning. It was Sunday when I got here, and was able to do all the damage and visit with a lot of the people who had been put out of their homes. And with Bob, we were going through all the mud and muck and everything, and others. I can't remember all who was with us that day, but that really got the impetus going to finally get this thing tackled for once and for all. And after that, then we were able to get the funding started, and I remember we had the ribbon cutting here in 1995. Is that right? I should look at my notes. Tell me. 1995. That's right. We had 1995. We had the ribbon cutting here to get this going. And then we kept getting the funding for it year after year. Then finally, the funding ran out, and then we had a problem with a 40% match, which was too much for the city. And then we had to get that changed. And this was a law that pertained to all of the United States. You had to have these 40% matches, which was just too much for Sioux City to handle. So again, Richard Bender worked his magic. I don't ask him a lot of times how he does these things. He just does it somehow. And he worked in there and got it changed for Sioux City and one other city in the country. And I think that other city was in the domain of the chairman of the Appropriations Committee, if I'm not mistaken. So we sort of piggybacked on that and got it done, and got the funding for this. And then things moved ahead year after year. I was here periodically to see different things put in down on the river and other things as we moved along. We had to have a new authorization. The old authorization ran out. We did that in 2003. And also in 2003, again, City Council and people came and said, you know, what we do need, along with this flood control project, is that we need a greenway and some trails. And so, again, we went to work on that project, and Richard got, I think, about a couple of $1 million, if I'm not mistaken, added on to this for the things you're standing on right now, the trails, which I understand are very pretty and really nice, and they go for, I was told 6 miles, but I guess it's 3 miles one way and 3 the other, but there's going to be some more added on. It's going to go on up into Plymouth County and stuff like that. I don't know. And then somehow it's going to go on over to Nebraska. But, well, someday when I get my bike out here, well, John Gary maybe will take me on a bike ride on this thing. Well, anyway, those are just some reminiscences of it. Like I said, this has been on our agenda, well, at least since 1986, when we first got the authorization through, and then year after year just plugging along. A lot of bumps in the road, a lot of little setbacks, but again, the perseverance of people here in Sioux City, not only Bob Scott, but all the mayors that came after him, and the city councils all committed themselves to this, and so did the city of Sioux City. I mean, you had to come up with a lot of money for this. This is a lot of money for a local community to come up with. But again, it's going to have a lot of benefits down the pike. As Bob said, no more fear of some of these floodings and houses being flooded out. Also, hopefully, at some point in the very near future, we won't have to have flood insurance any longer for all the housing up and down here. That will save people money. And then plus we'll have a great greenway and a bike trails for people to walk on and ride on. So all in all, a great project, one that I'm glad that I could have been a small part of and work with so many wonderful people through all these years to finally get to this day.